everyone, and welcome to this week's podcast broadcast of This Week in Science. We are 2 instead of 3, and we are here to talk about science using evidence.
For a change, we've decided that instead of just stating what we think science is, we're going to look at evidence. We're going to look at people who've tested things in laboratory conditions and run statistical analysis to see what actually is found in the world of science.
Yeah, and actually be critical of stuff when it's not done it well. Like, we could do that sometimes. Anyway, everybody, this is the pre-show where I tell you that we're a podcast and the show is edited so that it is a wonderful listening experience by our editor, Rachel. And in that, if we have technical difficulties or things that need to go away, those go away. But this is the live spiel. This is it. So thanks for being here.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy it. And are we ready to do the show? Everybody, let's get you all to like, share, hit subscribe if you haven't. Get us in the algorithms. Tell your friends we're live. Let's go. You ready? Yeah. We sounded good. We're good.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Hey, everyone. Okay. Let's do this science thing. Doot, doot, doot. Oh, over my head. Doop, doop. There we go. I gotta move ups and downs. Starting the show in 3, 2. This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 1031, recorded on Wednesday, September 24th, 2025. How to pronounce acetaminophen. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki, and tonight we will fill your head with evidence, reason, and science fun. But first,
Disclaimer. They are playing politics with women's health. Again! This time it's Tylenol, aka Tylenol. Paracetamol, if you happen to be in the European continent. An announcement was made that was, I'll just say it, not good. Suggesting, without evidence, that Tylenol was causally linked to autism. This is what it is like to be led by the scientifically illiterate. But why are they doing this? Who will benefit from the FDA slapping frightening labels on a harmless medicine? Aside from the egos of a few who want to champion a cause without the skills to do so, such arrogance matched with power and a lack of knowledge is truly a dangerous combination, likely to cause real human suffering. Speaking of causing real human suffering, it is time to administer another dose of This Week in Science. Coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening. What's happening? What's happening this week in science? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening this week in science?
Good science to you, Kiki.
and a good science to you too, Justin, and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science. We are back to talk about science that has been published in peer-reviewed journals or that has, you know, some kind of evidence behind it, and that, or they are saying, hey, this is cool. We're going to publish it in a peer-reviewed journal. We'd love scientific feedback. Anyway, we love to talk about the scientific discourse. Thanks for joining us. We have a good show ahead.
Right off the top of the show, because I don't have a segment on it. I don't have a whole prepared segment for this. But no, acetaminophen does not cause autism, and there are no studies that show a causal link. That is nonsense. Just in case anybody has not heard that from another source, it's nonsense. And maybe we should put together
causal
the
link. We should put some information out there if we can. But causal link is the big issue because there was a study published out of Harvard with other researchers involved at UCLA and a couple of other institutions back in August, and the study was a review of literature where they looked and they did a literature search, looked for autism, ASD, autism spectrum disorders, and acetaminophen, and they tried Tylenol and all sorts of different terms. And this whole study looked at ADHD, autism, and other neurodivergent disorders. Disorder is another question, but the result of this study was that they found in their review of literature that there were positive results suggesting a link, an associative link between acetaminophen and autism, ADHD, and the others were in there as well. This is the key word, though, because in the scientific literature, associative link does not mean causation. It means correlation. And the study itself was primarily led by a Harvard researcher who was paid $150,000 to testify in a legal case on the link between acetaminophen and neurodivergent disorders, autism spectrum, ADHD. And so this kind of paper, they say that they could not assess it qualitatively because of certain issues. So they had to, not quantitatively. So they had to do a qualitative assessment. And the qualitative assessment led to this outcome. Never mind that there have been other meta reviews, that there have been other studies that have not found this kind of a link.
There was one out of Sweden that wasn't a meta review of other disparate studies that were slapped together to get one output, where they looked at 2.5 million people with their wonderful universal health system, which shows everything that they need to see, and found no link with either ADHD or autism.
And that is more of a quantitative. And the question is, was that study in this review? Was there how was it assessed in the review? Like, was it at 2.5 million people in its sample set? Was it just put on an even par with another study that had 20? How did they analyze that? So these are the questions. And historically, however, there is a precedent for individuals who are paid to testify, who are in the scientific or medical field, who then need to publish supporting papers for their views. And so these papers get published, and it is a credibility and prestige pipeline.
So I was unaware of that.
Yeah.
That link, and it's important because the largest lawsuits against attempted class action lawsuits against Tylenol got shut down in 2024, just last year, for a lack of expert evidence on this.
And so if you're now, going to testify, why are you paid $150,000 for your?
I'm not a conspiracy theory person, so I don't have a whiteboard behind me. But RFK Jr. is a guy that came from that class action lawyer field, who's constantly suing on behalf of suing pharmaceutical companies making claims of autism, usually with vaccines. This is in that venue, and now there's going to be an FDA. So when I was alluding to who benefits from this, actually this is kind of the only group that would possibly benefit from all of the suffering that's going to come from mislabeling this as dangerous, which will be those who are trying to get a class action lawsuit with very little evidence, without the scientific evidence. But if they have an FDA label now that gets slapped on there, We have the president saying it. I don't know how much expert use that'll be, but if you have the head of Health and Human Services making these claims, if you have the FDA issuing advisories, then you have what used to be the scientific brand of expertise on the government level weighing in, even though, of course, it's been completely and totally gutted of all the scientific rigor. So this is the danger, and this is likely who benefits from it. And the fact that this study that they're citing is one that was created by a paid expert for that same group, probably that same lawsuit that I'm referring to. That got thrown out by the judge for a lack of scientific expertise on their side making these claims. That might be it. That might be the reason that we're seeing this happen. That simply, which is just ridiculous. The other aspect of it is probably a post lawsuit, successful or not, you'll likely see a hedge fund take over, where some other group of investors will tear the company to pieces. So fun. But the human health part of it is coming last in this scenario, it seems. Anyhow. Kiki, are you still with me? Oh, we may have lost Kiki for the moment. It's just me. Oh, no. Watch out, minions. We're going to go ahead and jump into why cats might kill you. Of course, that's the very first place I'm going when I have the reins. Beware of cats. They harbor deadly pathogens. And I'm not talking about Toxoplasma gondii. I'm talking about cat food. There's an analysis, it was just published in Communications Biology, that found Salmonella, Chronobacter, and E. coli, some of which were antibiotic resistant, in raw or partially cooked, I guess, meat sold in frozen, refrigerated, and freeze-dried for cat food. So these are products that don't necessarily won't come with a warning label that some of the meat is not fully cooked. There is FDA regulation on this, but of course, as usual, testing is pretty limited by the FDA and actually going in and testing that things are being followed. So in the study, the researchers purchased a mix of raw and conventionally cooked cat foods. They compared the communities of microorganisms in each sample, applying the same methods practiced by the FDA when they are doing their cultured bacterial samples. They found 5 strains of salmonella in raw food samples. Ooh. And so the thing is, it says here that there were indeed some human cases that were genetically very similar to our isolates, meaning there's a very good chance that this is also something that can cross over into the family that owns the cat. Especially young children may be vulnerable. So when you get rid of your cats because they're dangerous, remember to also get rid of all of their cat food.
Love your cats.
Stop feeding your cats in the house.
Feed your cats so they
don't let your cats outside.
Don't let your cats outside. I highly
But don't feed them this partially cooked cat food, this wet cat food or whatever it is that they're getting fed here. There's no winning. You have to get rid of the cats. And the thing is, the cats never loved you.
They do.
They don't
love you.
They don't
love you.
Yeah, they're waiting. They're waiting. They're waiting for you to falter so they can devour you.
No, there are roles and responsibilities involved in the relationship, but at the same time, our cats love, our cats feel. They're smart animals.
I'm not saying they're not smart. I'm just saying they're not on your side.
They're predators, though. They're descended from predators, so they're not the same. I mean, the way that dogs are also predators, they're also social pack animals, which cats are social as well, but in a different way. So it's it's interesting. Anyway, trust
Show
your
me
cat,
a big cat
that's
a friend of people.
Yeah.
Once they have even the slightest, not even a full-on size advantage, but once they get that ratio close enough, they start going. They'll eat you.
No, I don't think so. Their
Mm-hmm.
relationships are important for cats as well. And if you, make sure they don't have good relationships with other cats, then you're their other cat. So then that's it, and that's how it
Have
works.
you
I'm
ever
not talking about
heard
this
of a
one.
cat protecting an owner?
Yeah.
See, whoa, look right there.
Yes,
Ah,
actually,
oh,
and grieving. And grieving.
protecting an owner.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe I've just
And
never had a
protect
cat that
or at
lets
least
me.
protecting their territory
Well,
from a
okay, hang
dog.
on now.
Yeah.
Hang on. Yeah, it's a little bit different.
And we're not going to tell the stories that my dad would tell. Anyway, my dad's stories. But we have good family stories, especially so farm cats, right? Like my family,
Yeah.
we have family property going back in Central California for multiple generations, and so my great grandfather had a cat that was one of the toms around the property, and so these are toms, like they're out doing their thing, right? They're not house cats, but this particular cat loved my great grandfather.
Hmm.
And after he died, the cat came to my great grandfather's chair and sat on and lay in that chair and didn't leave it. And he almost starved himself to death. The
Oh, no.
cat like almost starved himself to death because my great grandfather wasn't there anymore.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Cats are connected to people.
Yeah.
They will eat you, but there's dogs will eat you too, but it takes a couple days longer.
They'll wait longer. More and a little bit longer.
Yeah, hopefully my computer won't crash again. Thanks for keeping up the science stories. Anyway, we were talking about acetaminophen, but I also did want to say right off the top that we have to correct other statements that were made this week in the UN by our president. The president gave a very long speech, and in the speech said that climate change is a con and that it had been perpetuated and created by a bunch of stupid people in that building. And so I just want to put it out there that climate change is not a con by stupid people in the UN. There is overwhelming scientific evidence that connects carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases that are emitted by human activities and natural activities, but more recently, it's the human stuff that is the big driver to an increasingly warming atmosphere. And we can totally do things about this, and we have been. Solar and wind energy, which he also claimed were ineffective and they were just taking up space, and the windmills are rusting and falling on people, and they're just whatever. There are entire countries that are going off of coal because they have enough offshore wind to provide for their needs. I mean, it's like Ireland, right? But at the same time, the cost of solar, the cost of wind, the energy, the batteries that are the technology that is there to store the energy and release it as it's necessary, all this technology has advanced so much in the last 20 years. And as long as we've been talking about it, I've been talking about it, we are at a point where solar and wind are actually overtaking coal. China is shutting down coal power plants and doing solar and wind and nuclear, but we're turning it around. And so
the other part of that too is just
there's a lot
the
of
UN who has been foot dragging on this issue. Like hardly the champions of global warming at the UN.
Not the champions, yeah.
Like,
but the UN's where like the IPCC stuff happens, and anyway, I just want to say, I mean, maybe this is his way of trying to get everybody to do better and not. I don't know. I don't know. I just want to say and set the record straight that climate change isn't a con, and solar and wind are actually doing really great. That's really good. So let's keep it going, people. Okay. Are you ready to do a show? We have so many great stories we haven't even gotten to yet. It's Ig Nobel season. I can't wait to talk about that. We're going to talk about territorial fish. Blair's not here, so I brought all the animal stories this week.
Nice.
We're going to talk about large herbivores. We're going to talk about brains and maybe spider brains. Because, bedtime nightmare fuel. Yeah. What'd you bring?
That's exactly what I need.
Mhm.
Let's jump right into the Ig Nobles then.
No, what did you bring? Oh,
well, I just did one of the stories. Was the cat food outbreak of pathogens. Oh, I don't know if you could hear it.
It was dead. My computer was dead.
Yeah. So they looked at cat foods. I guess that were partially cooked or partially some raw, and basically found all sorts of antibiotic resistance, salmonellas and E. coli's and stuff that could infect not just the cat but the household.
Cook your food for your cats.
Yeah, just get rid of the cats. You don't need them. You have other things you can spend your money on.
That's true.
I have so little time on this planet. Why spend it with a cat?
I know you have other stories. Anyway, yes, let's get to this. Everyone, if you are interested in sharing This Week in Science with your friends, please do that, okay? Because we spread at the rate of sharing. I mean, come on, everybody. Pretend that you're a virus. No, okay, no, don't do that. Anyway, TWIS.org is our website. You can go there and find show notes and all sorts of neat things for the show. And you can find us Wednesday evenings, 8 p.m. Pacific time-ish on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. We are also on some of those social media platforms, but really look for This Week in Science and make sure you share, subscribe, get us in the algorithms. Okay, everyone, time for the science.
Let's bring it.
Okay, back to it. Ig Nobels. Okay, for those of you who may be coming to the show newly, every fall, this is the season I look forward to, full of jovial mirth, whimsy. Anyway, the Ig Nobels are an amazing award ceremony that has been going on for, multiple decades, since the early 90s, 1991, I think. And it is about celebrating improbable research that makes you laugh and go, what? But then think about what was actually being studied, why, not just the haha funny aspect of it, but maybe get more curious about what, where, when, where.
Yeah, every time I hear the setup to an Ig Nobel, I'm like, oh, why would they even need to study that? Who came up with this idea? How did they get the research funding to do this? Why are they even bothering? And then sometimes by the end of it, I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. That's really brilliant. And then sometimes I'm like, oh.
A lot of them are brilliant. Most of them are interesting. Okay, this isn't science, but the literature prize for the Ig Nobels, the late Dr. William B. Bean, for persistently recording and analyzing the rate of growth of one of his fingernails over a period of 35 years. He has publications ranging from 1953 in the Journal of Investigative Dermatology, a note on fingernail growth, all the way through 1980, nail growth, 35 years of observation. We also had nail growth, 25 years observation. Then there was nail growth, 30 years of observation. Some notes of an aging nail watcher, and a discourse on nail growth and unusual fingernails.
So I have so many questions. The first,
read the articles.
Obviously,
I love it.
Was that fingernail getting cut frequently and then restarting the measurement, or was it like being allowed to grow out of control in a way that makes it hard to use your hand?
One fingernail, 35 years. Read the articles. All right, the nutrition. No. First, who's first? Psychology prize. This is Poland, Austria, and Canada for investigating what happens when you tell narcissists or anyone else that they are intelligent.
Well, let's try. Go ahead.
So the article title is Telling People They Are Intelligent Correlates with the Feeling of Narcissistic Uniqueness, the influence of IQ feedback on temporary state narcissism. So basically, if you take an IQ test and it's like, you're special, you're smart, you go, ooh, and you get temporarily narcissistic about it.
And that's what they feel like all the time? Is that the idea? Or when they're getting good feedback?
Well, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, anybody. Hey, you're smart. You're intelligent versus, hey,
You know why I don't like this study? It's almost like, don't be proud of being smart. It makes you a narcissist. Like, no, like if it's about being smart, I'm going to brag a little bit.
That's kind of the results. Yep.
Brag. I think everybody should brag a little bit about showing off their smarts. I think that's totally fair.
I think that we're humble about that too much, right? Hide it under the facade of our faces.
People go around flaunting their humility in front of other people. So, oh, look how humble I can be. Like all that one-upmanship. It really is very egotistical.
I need more numbers of digits of pi. Come on, everyone. Nutrition prize, Nigeria, Togo, Italy, France. Researchers got this award for studying the extent to which a certain kind of lizard chooses to eat certain kinds of pizza. The title was Opportunistic Foraging Strategy of Array of Rainbow Lizards at a Seaside Resort in Togo.
So, the sides, like...
Yeah. They're opportunistic, so like whatever is there, but like
are they like...
No, it's a seaside
making
resort,
a fake phone call, ordering too many cricket pizzas,
there.
And then what do we do with all these cricket pizzas they never pull up? Throw it in the dumpster again. I don't know.
That's not opportunistic. That is like that
active. Would be decisions. Yes.
Yeah. So in this abstract, they say these lizards normally have arthropods being the main prey source, but because there's this cool coastal resort in southern Togo, a population of these lizards were observed while feeding regularly upon non-natural human-made food, pizza. And they liked 4 cheeses pizza more than other kinds of pizza. So given the choice of different pizza slices or bites thrown on the ground or dropped or opportunistically foraged, 4 cheeses won out over combination or pepperoni or veggie or whatever. Yeah, 4 cheeses.
All right.
So why? They don't know. They say maybe there's some chemical cues involved. Anyway, pediatrics prize. American researchers studied what a nursing baby experiences when the baby's mother eats garlic. Yep. Title, Maternal Diet Alters the Sensory Qualities of Human Milk and the Nursing's Behavior. So babies know. I don't know. Maybe some babies like garlic, others don't. Anyway, biology researchers from Japan did experiments to learn whether cows painted with zebra-like striping can avoid being bitten by flies. And this is a study that Blair brought up and we reported on and had a great conversation too. Cows painted with zebra-like striping can avoid biting fly attack. It was great.
There you go. There you go. From now on, all cows should be striped.
All the cows painted like zebras. Get rid of their splotches. No, they're going to be zebra cows. All right. Chemistry prize, USA and Israel researchers collaborated to test whether eating Teflon, a form of plastic more formally called polytetrafluoroethylene, is a good way to increase food volume and hence satiety without increasing calorie content.
So wait, dietary forever chemicals?
Yeah, like not fiber, not like less Teflon.
What
Just
if we
put
lined
Teflon
your
in it.
stomach with Teflon as a dietary? Oh gosh,
I have a feeling that is not the best.
You know, the thing is, it might work,
All right, I
right?
am
Like,
looking for the title of this
but,
study where there's a patent. Wow, Google
but,
patents. Okay.
like,
Mhm.
the downstream side effects of doing such a thing for that one outcome, may not be worth it. This is true of many things. You have downstream effects, which I'm going to talk about like later on, as soon as I can remember how to pronounce the word.
So normally distension of the stomach is involved in satiety. There are also like other triggers that are hormonal or signaling that signal to the brain that you're not hungry anymore and you can stop eating. So this particular paper was looking at whether or not polytetrafluoroethylene could reduce the feelings of hunger as you ate. And so they say it provides a useful tool for appetite control and treatment of overeating and can contribute to reducing obesity.
Obesity or weight? So this is what I'm going to be talking about. Semaglutide, which is it's Wegovy, it's Ozempic, it's all of these formerly diabetes treating drugs that are being used for weight loss. They have, in some reports, as high as 45%, I've seen, of their weight loss is lean mass, which is
That's muscle.
Bone. It could be
That's not
organ.
healthy.
It could be using
Organs.
organ tissue. Like, it's all of that field.
So it's like
It's almost half of
starvation,
it.
except.
Yeah.
So that's not great.
So and I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll talk about those later. Those are coming up.
That's a great teaser for later. Let's see. Peace Prize, Netherlands, UK, and Germany, they showed that drinking alcohol sometimes improves a person's ability to speak in a foreign language, titled Dutch Courage, Effects of Acute Alcohol Consumption on Self-Ratings and Observer Ratings of Foreign Language Skills.
Oh, you're speaking the native language of the drunks. That's all it is. Because what do you have to learn those couple of things where you're like cheersing on the other one. You know, you learn that couple of things that you have in common and you just say those things over and over again while you drink. I think that's all it is. It's not fluency, but
engineering design prize from
Hill.
Indian research analyzing from an engineering design perspective how foul smelling shoes affect the good experience of using a shoe rack. Smelly shoes, an opportunity for shoe rack redesign. I think this is
so
opportunity.
Seriously, yes. I don't care how well that shoe rack was designed, how nicely it fits into the space, the little accoutrement on felt on the top that makes it just look cozy. If there's a stinky shoe in there, the whole thing's got to go. It's done. It's ruined the experience. It's totally true.
Totally done. Let's see. Aviation prize. Researchers internationally studied whether ingesting alcohol can impair bats' ability to fly and echolocate. And
so that one's interesting.
Does.
It does? So and the reason I'm like
can't fly or echolocate.
The reason I'm slightly surprised, when I guess it depends on the type of bat, but I would assume that fruit bats get intoxicated rather regularly, right?
Yes, and so they're going to run into. They studied Egyptian fruit bats.
Okay, because they're
Yeah, you'd think they'd have a higher tolerance,
They're going
but
to be
maybe
encountering fermented fruit here and there with that alcohol content high enough to get a bat drunk. And then they still got to make it back to the cave with enough.
exactly.
I would think, yeah, there might be a little. I guess there's no real generational tolerance to alcohol.
No.
That's
Well,
the thing.
there's some, but not really. Okay. Physics prize, last one. Italy, Spain, Germany, Austria. Researchers discovered they looked into the physics of pasta sauce. Phase behavior of cacio e pepe sauce. Cacio e pepe sauce? Anyway, the phase transition that can lead to clumping. It'll make your pasta sauce unpleasant. Anyway, the physics of pasta is incredibly important, especially in Italy. But also, if you check out the study, you probably learn how to make a really good cacio e pepe, which is one of the simpler pastas. If I would say.
I don't know. I think all cans open about the same, don't you?
Cans? Oh my gosh. Yeah, okay, whatever. All right, moving on. Those were the Ig Nobels. I hope you all had a bit of a ooh, ah, ha, 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 and then yeah. Do you want to talk about something that's not cat food?
We can.
Or not?
Uh,
I can just keep
Well,
going.
I'll go ahead and follow up on the two different Novo Nordisk studies that were out in the last week. One is looking at a higher dose, I think 10 times the regular dosage of their injectable, but it's an oral pill, so it's higher dosage because it's not going to be as effective. It's not going to all get to where it needs to go. And they tested it against a placebo and found that yes, they can achieve the weight loss over a placebo, right? Through the pill, which just means this is something that they're obviously looking at to make it more accessible to more of a end user who's maybe afraid of doing the injections, timid about it for whatever reason.
Well, it's
And
not.
like
Needles are hard. It's not easy for people.
But I also wonder if it requires 10 times the dosage of the actual druggable amount, is it going to be 10 times more expensive? Like that, the concentration is so much higher of the same molecule. It's kind of a curious thing. So that one might be more expensive. And then they also put out a study where they have used triple the injectable dose in a new injectable, and again tested it against a placebo to see if it was effective. And yes, it also incurs weight loss greater than a placebo. Okay.
So the pill, I think, is very interesting as greater than a placebo. Like there's something to like that science and the psychology of taking a pill, right? Of the placebo effect, right? And so the test against a placebo is really interesting because it's like the psychological, and actually in both of them, right? It's you're doing a thing. And so your brain is already primed to accept you're doing a thing. So there will be weight loss.
Yeah.
Whether or not there's active ingredient. And so to test against a placebo is actually, it's a control, right? That's all it is. They're saying placebo.
They have
control.
I feel like they should always do a full analysis of the existing drug when they're doing a modification. Like the triple dosage, it's at 7.2 milligrams. The Wegovy dose is a dosage. It's a brand name, but it's a dosage of 2.4 milligrams of semaglutide. It did a little bit better. It's not really that huge of an increase. They showed a mean body weight loss by 13.2%. at 7.2 versus 10.4 at the old 2.4. So they tripled the dosage and got,
In the pill.
no, sorry, this is in the injection.
In the injection. Okay.
Yeah. In the pill one, they didn't run the comparable. But here's the thing. Both of these studies were designed, funded, the analysis, the statistics, all of this was written by Novo Nordisk, but it is being presented almost everywhere as being by the research, the academic institutions that performed the study. I have a problem with it because even though if you read the actual study and you go down and you see the disclosures, you'll see that Novo Nordisk's hand was everywhere in this and that they had their researchers involved. But they have academic groups. I'm not saying fronting. I don't want it to sound like that. But I think it needs to be very clear that these are Novo Nordisk studies, that these are Novo Nordisk results, that this is their in-house designed experiment. Because in every single one of them, they talk about weight loss. None of them mention where that weight loss is coming from. And that's like the extremely important distinction. Yeah. If that, 13% weight loss versus 10% weight loss is coming largely from the lean mass side, that is a worse product.
I think that the issue though, that's like what's been sold to us forever, right? Is weight loss. If you want to fit society's standards, you lose weight, right? Nobody talks about where that weight comes from. They don't talk about it. It's just assumed that weight comes from fat cells. It's not discussed that the weight loss could be from other parts of your body. I mean, the only time that it's lean is malnutrition, it's lack of activity and atrophy. It's, you're in a hospital bed in a coma and your body's going away, right? Yeah. We don't talk about the difference because that's usually not something of interest. But I think in this particular, this is really important. And especially as we're talking about trying to maintain health into old age, as people age, you need to maintain bone, organ, and muscle density, right? All of it. Like you need to maintain it to age healthily. So they're hiding it, right?
I won't want to go so far as to say that they're hiding it, but they obviously have no benefit in showing it. Right? So they've limited, right? No, I know. But I mean,
but I get it.
To be fair, you could look at it from, also you could look at the enzymes from pancreas and kidney that have been shown in some of the safety trials as being issues. Whether this is an increased issue at the higher dosage, that was not included in the study, in any of these studies. You could be looking at the retinal effects because it has some effects on eyes because of the vascular changes. None of that was included in these studies. And to show that it was safely tolerated in a in-house trial that eliminated a lot of the things that are risky and have been shown to be risk factors for potential problems with these, by not sharing those. Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of potential for the next round by independent researchers who somehow, if there's such a thing, if there's anybody who can be untouched by Novo Nordisk spending on research at the moment, and it's going to be
that's the thing, the money, the funding to do the work. Yeah, clinical trials.
Not just the funding to do the trials, but the knowledge that if you publish, like, this is the fear of the political arena in science, is if somebody does publish an honest result that shows problems, will they be funded in the future?
That's a great statement. Please plug and unplug your microphone. There's popping that's happening. So hopefully it's just your line It's just breaking up. So I just want to, Rachel, this needs to be edited out. Yes, hopefully that'll fix it. And now you're not having microphones, so you have to reset your microphone in StreamYard probably. I wanted you to say your important things, but it was popping. It was good. It's really good. Test, test, test. Do your test, test, test.
What are you doing?
There you are. Hi, you're back.
Are you
I
hitting the
didn't
mute
mute
button?
you. No, I didn't
Muting
do
and
that.
unmuting.
No,
I don't know
I
why.
didn't do it.
Anyway, hopefully the popping is gone. If it's not,
Hopefully, I think it's gone. That's better. Yes. So far, so good.
so as I was saying, yeah, like stop it.
Oh, there's a little bit. Maybe turn down your gain. I don't know.
I don't know if I have a game.
Yeah, wait. Look at that microphone.
Okay, there. Lower gain. Is that good?
Oh, it's great.
Lower
Pop, pop, pop.
gain. Is it
Oh.
still popping?
Oh,
that what you're
thanks, Jack Frost. Thank you. That's wonderful. Say more things. It's only when you talk more. La, 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 la.
Okay, I've
Important
got to keep
government
talking, and
things.
then
It sounds great.
anyway,
Thank you.
what I was
It
saying.
sounds good.
Uh,
Yes, it's a live show. Yes, Jack, we're
it's
real.
really, yeah, I know. It's totally live.
We're
But
for
it's
real.
just like there's a constant onslaught right now of these semaglutide studies trying to show that it does everything. There's another one that was like, hey, it's safe for people who are currently on antipsychotics, and it doesn't cause any additional symptoms. These are good things to have studied, but the reason that there's going to be a study about everything with almost any kind of claim that you can imagine right now is because there's a giant bag of money being spent on that research.
And a lot of the Wegovy, semaglutide, and the related compounds have gotten promoted, and they have been looked at in a limited sense. And suddenly we have a large proportion of the population using them in a way, because these were like diabetic drugs. Now they are weight loss drugs. And so they are off label, but now it's the label. And so this is the money maker for everyone. And unfortunately, there are side effects and there are downsides. And these things have not been studied for long-term use in larger population, not with respect to diabetes or to metabolic disorders, but yeah. Anyway, there's work to be done, and I think that is the problem, is that they jumped into the off-label use really aggressively because everyone was doing it.
Magical weight loss drug. But also we don't hear as much about, but everybody probably needs to know, and maybe doctors are recommending this when they give them to their patients. I haven't been given this, so I don't know. But you need a lot of exercise and diet to counter that up to 45% lean mass weight loss. Because that's your muscles. That's like, your bones.
It's great you're losing weight, but if you're just sitting and you're not if it's like, okay, you've been doing this stuff and you're not losing weight, great. But if you're not doing this stuff, now you're going to lose the weight that matters, that really is it'll hurt you. So anyway, yay, new things that make money. So you got to have results that don't really go against that.
But have a lot of disclaimers in your head for any of these studies, because it's all in-house, regardless of where you're seeing it published or who conducted the research. Everything on these drugs right now is industry study. Industry funded. And like there's no escaping.
Drugs help people. Like there are treatments, vaccines, there are mRNA drugs, there are all sorts of drugs that help people. But at the same time, there's money involved. So always, I mean, honestly,
actually, but what do we say now? Consult your human health service,
consult your doctor. Consult your doctor because for now, but but additionally,
not in Florida.
I mean, just know the things that are regulated or have been regulated historically are the
You
pharmaceutical
need to go into the
treatment.
archive.
If you're going to your 7-Eleven or whatever and just buying what's off the shelf, that'd be really, everybody needs to be really critical, please. Come on, let's be critical. And don't buy Dr. Justin's poop pills.
Not a real Justin. You know what? Look,
Not a real
here's the thing
doctor.
about
Poop pills.
Dr. Justin's not a real doctor of poop pills for what ails you. The thing is, the health claims on there are no different than what you'll see on fish oil. You know that fish oil is $1 billion a year industry right now?
What did you just say?
What?
Fish
oil.
oil? Fish oil. Yes.
Supplements. It's $1 billion a year industry. It's usually talking about has heart health or,
omega
things like this.
6s, omega 3s.
There has been zero studies that has shown that it has any effect on heart health.
Causally. There's lots
Zero.
of qualitative studies that want to say.
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably a few supplement derived studies at this point with $1 billion to throw around. But there are zero studies. But the problem is when people see stuff like it encourages heart health or whatever, the claims that you will see on there, they interpret them as having an effect on heart disease outcome. But they don't. They're making a general claim about this has a precursor that has been associated with something that is linked to, right? But there's no causal correlation between taking fish oil supplements as a, for instance, this is just an example.
I don't know. Generations of Scandinavians can't be wrong, Justin.
They have the worst hearts on the planet. They do. They're the ones dropping from heart arrhythmias in their 20s. They're like, if anything, it would prove the opposite.
So with all of this, though, I mean, you have to wonder when a doctor prescribes you something, ask them if they're prescribing it to you because a sales rep recommended it and are they getting a kickback? If
I'm sure they'll be honest.
Are having a nutritionist or a website that you trust for health stuff sell you supplements and sell you nutritional things, maybe you should think about why they're driving you to their website. It's called profit and money. It's not about your health. You should be critical about the reasons that certain things are in certain places. And when doctors and health officials, people who are trying to help you are really trying to help you, it's not going to come with more than the cost of the visit, or that like it's not going to be the American Medical Association and buy our supplements. No,
and
if they're selling you ivermectin, they are not a real doctor, or they have.
You're not a horse unless you're a horse.
You're not a horse, but
if you're a horse, then you might need it. I just want to make sure that's
clear. More critical about the things they see on the internet. Oh my god, it's like late night television.
This is also a problem because misreading and misinformation. So this, what I'm referring to here about the fish oil, this is a part of a study that was done by University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center, Duke University Medical Center research.
Segueing. You did that on purpose. I see.
Yeah, there's no accidents here. This is professional. In the United States, we are the world leader in supplement taking. We approximately 56%, if not higher, of U.S. adults take at least one form of supplement. I have a cabinet full that I forget to take daily, but I still have them. But there's certain phrases that they have discovered are being massively overestimated in what they mean. So they played around with a few. They used fish oil as one of the examples because of the fact that fish oil has actually not been in any study linked causally, or even having a good link to outcomes of things like stroke and other heart issues, brain function, or any of this. However, a lot of people think that they do. And so they had some of the labels that they played with was things like supports heart health, or supports cognitive function, supports heart function, supports cognitive
Supports.
function,
You could
brain
also
health.
eat. You could just eat food.
But these are things that aren't labeled on food. So if you go buy a fish, it won't. Your fish that you buy at the grocery store won't say supports heart health, right?
But it
But
does. It supports brain health. It
does
supports
it?
life. It
Does it?
supports life.
Does it? Does it though?
Yeah. I mean,
Does it really?
if you eat fish,
Maybe.
it's good for you.
Maybe.
Helps you not starve to death and die, and it gives you nutrients.
For sure. But basically, they gave people these supplements, and also they had a made up supplement that was itself sort of a placebo. And they had these versions that had labels, and they had versions that had no claims on them at all, that made no claim. It's just, here's what this is. Go ahead and take it. And they found that it's a good, 62% who had it with the label saying it was like supports heart health believed 62.5% believed that it was likely to reduce heart attack risk. Whereas only 53% thought so in the one that had no claim, which also shows that fish oil has a pretty good reputation, because even people without seeing that claim think it's going to help heart health. Or think it's going to reduce the risk of heart attack. But when it says it on the label, it bumped it. So they kind of found this throughout everywhere. The one that was kind of interesting is their fake supplement. They didn't have a no label control for it, but it was an even more dramatic rise. There was a like 20% more likely belief that it was going to have a medical outcome, a clinical outcome outside of a vague nutritional outcome, which is what the statements all are. So they're kind of pointing out like, hey, if we know that these words are not clinically binding, supports brain health, as would like any food, like you're pointing out, and people are interpreting it as reducing their chances of getting dementia, then we have a lack of meeting of the minds, right? We are now at a point where even though you're using maybe the correct agreed upon terminology, the understanding that terminology you're using doesn't translate to a layman means that you're now misrepresenting your product. And it's a tough thing. We educate everyone or force a few people to change their language, right? And that's a tough thing for somebody who loves language. It's tough for me to say, yeah, you've got to change the language for the masses occasionally, but we need to do that occasionally. That's something that is sometimes important. So I think this their ultimate thing was like, yeah, maybe at some point this should have a regulatory review over the language being used, but it's such a Wild West, unregulated world within supplements. They have that FDA thing where they're supposed to make sure that it is safe. Anything that they make is safe for the public to take, but there's limited testing, and it's really up to the industry itself to self-police on all of these things. And then when it comes to the claims,
is hard because profits. So
when it comes to the claims, they're not allowed to make direct medical claims, but they can make these supports this, supports that, helps this. They can make the more vague claims, but because they're organ specific, of course, people are taking it to be clinically significant. Which, yeah. Anyway, what to do?
I've been trying to find a graphic that I saw from another science communicator that represents the pharma industry economy and money in the Make America Healthy Again, which is supplements and happiness and, that. And it was really interesting that, I mean, this is what they showed, and I'd love to actually find the source of this data. So if anyone has it, please send it to me. But what they suggested and the graphic was very clear, was that the MAHA movement has like 6 times the money in it that pharma does, and there are trillions of dollars in pharma. So,
Yeah.
whoosh,
No, it's a
it's
gigantic
It's
industry,
interesting place. Yeah.
which also, by the way, a lot of times the NFL, I don't know if you heard of them. It's the National Football League, which in America is the football,
Yeah.
the original football, not the later one that where soccer became a football that's played in Europe, but the original football, first
Yeah.
one called football, which is American football. The NFL, National Football League, their players union,
Hopping again.
sorry,
Yeah,
their
the players union.
has an independent lab that any player can send supplements to have tested. And the reason they do this is because they've discovered
Supplements are not trustworthy.
they're not, and a lot of
I
them
know.
contain pharmaceuticals. A lot of what they claim to be all natural would have, you know, sometimes antidepressants involved with them. So sometimes steroids that would be illegal for the players to be taking. So
Yep.
if
And
they've gotten
need
to the point,
they can't test for those certain compounds, so they need to make sure that the things they're taking as supplements and other, additives like that, they are not going to be detrimental to their ability to perform. So that's, that's
so
important.
now I gotta
Mix your
pause. Now I'm
popping.
hearing
You're
no,
popping
no,
again.
no, no,
But
no.
you're
So are you.
popping. No.
So are you.
Nope.
Yep.
Nope.
Because I was just listening and you were talking and you were doing it.
No, it's you popping.
No, you just did it.
Really? I'm not popping on my end. Are you popping on your end?
I can't hear my end. I only hear
I
you.
know.
But you're clicking and popping.
I hear you're clicking and popping.
I hear you clicking and popping. That's the word on the street is
Word on the
Kiki
street.
is clicking and popping all over town.
That's right.
All right, we need to turn to the audience. Audience,
who's clicking and
who
popping?
is It's just Justin. So it's also then my audio that I'm getting in because I'm hearing you do it. So it's both my output and my input are experiencing the same thing, which means it's not a mic issue.
Tap your mic.
No.
Yeah. Okay, good.
It's not a mic issue. It is a connectivity issue.
But it went away for a while and came back. It's like it built up or something.
Yeah.
Which know how in the olden days you would be connected to a particular mic for a while and it was like suddenly it like built up like the robo voice. Like there was a weird audio glitch that I never quite understood.
Yeah.
But it's not bad Wi-Fi because this video is great. So why would audio be bad? Possibly they just upgraded on StreamYard to 48 kilohertz instead of I think 41. So
can I turn that down in my audio? Because
let's see what we can do. Edit mic settings.
It's not in there.
Your audio, like to me, you sound great. Leave it on. Do you have a lot of background noise?
It can't be the mic. It can't be the mic because I'm hearing it in my audio, which is not connected to this mic at all. These are AirPods directly to the computer. That's why I'm thinking this is platform or
bitrate.
Connectivity.
I think bitrate mismatch. That's what I'm thinking.
So do I hang up and call back?
Ryan.
Is that a thing?
You shouldn't do anything with drivers. So don't do anything with drivers.
I just got rid of all my drivers.
Thank you, Jack. You're fantastic. Wow. Thank you so much, Jack Frost. I feel like we're getting ready for Christmas right now. For the winter.
I'm ready for winter.
A little popping. Do you want to
I'm
maybe
gonna hang up.
Start a story. You hang up, come back. I'll start a story and you just see what I'm talking about and get into it when you come back.
Perfect. I'll make up I'll pretend that I heard what you said in the beginning. I'll make up my own version.
Let's make sure. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be
3 minutes.
Fire your drivers. That's right. Get rid of the drivers. 3 minutes, 10 minutes. Took me a while to fix mine. Okay. We've talked about cats, so let's move on to territorial fish. I'm really sad Blair's not here because there were some great stories this week that I was actually holding on, putting them into our rundown because I was sure she was going to bring them. But she's not here, so I get to talk about them. Yay! Florida Atlantic University researchers have just published a study that listened to groupers. What? Yes, groupers in the Florida aquatic ecosystem are commercially important, and it's good to know what the fish are doing and why. They just published their study in ICES Journal of Marine Science, and this study is really great because it it takes it was nothing to impact the fish. It wasn't an experiment. It wasn't something changing something in the ecosystem. It was just passive. They put microphones in the water and have been recording since 2007. This is a spawning site off of Puerto Rico's west coast. They've been monitoring since 2007. And the excitement about this is that they finally were able to put together a system which they call FADAR, Fish Acoustic Detection Algorithm Research. And it's a custom built acoustic system that allows them to distinguish between different calls. There are two specific calls that they are interested in: aggression or territoriality, and mating. And so these two calls are different. It's an easy thing for this system to be able to differentiate between the types of calls in the aquatic environment. They had over 2,000 hours of recordings from FADAR and were able to process 12 years of acoustic data in a number of weeks. I mean, technology can really assist us in our ability to move science forward, especially in the kind of stuff where you'd have to get like undergraduates and interns and other people like, yeah. So it's a significant advancement. They're using machine learning. This is where I sneeze. This is where learning models, where these large correlative algorithms are really able to do some important work because they're able to change the way that we monitor and understand and manage the ecosystems that we live in, hopefully for the better. And the outcome of this particular study is that they found that historically these groupers were lovers and there were all sorts of mating calls, and now they are fighters. And the territorial calls outnumber the mating calls. So over the last 12 years in this Florida waters ecosystem off of Puerto Rico, in this mating ground, in a place where these fish go to mate, they're not doing as much mating as they used to. They're fighting over territory. And so if they're fighting over territory, that means that resources are limited and that there is competition that is limiting their ability to procreate. And so that's going to limit population growth, which is important for the commercial aspect of human stuff. So the bottom line here is that this company has been able, not company, I don't know why I said company, these researchers at this Florida institution have been able to use what you would call artificial intelligence, but it is a large data model to be able to create a system that can monitor and understand the warning signs for the populations that could lead to them being at risk. So hopefully they'll be able to adapt their conservation strategies before it's too late. Anyway, FADAR and the researchers are saying, thanks to FADAR, we processed 12 years of acoustic data in weeks, uncovering patterns that would have taken years to find. It's game changer for monitoring and managing fish like the grouper, the red hind. So it's very, very interesting. Hopefully they can just use this kind of monitoring technique. They didn't have to poke anything, right? It was just listening. And they were able to understand something. They haven't done anything with it yet, but hopefully this research will lead to changes to help sustain the fishery, because obviously there are problems afoot. Moving on to problems. I'm waiting for Justin to come back for this particular study, but this one is one that I think Justin would be interested in, and Blair. I'm really sad that she's not here either. Researchers published in Nature Communications a study called Harms of Introduced Large Herbivores Outweigh Benefits to Native Biodiversity. And this is the first time that researchers have really taken a look at a large swath of studies to determine exactly what the dominant outcome is when you take large mammalian herbivores. So like the bigger ones, right? Not like, not little tiny ones, and not, adding little plants or other little competitors. These are the big ones. The fauna. When you introduce horses, when you introduce goats, when you introduce sheep, how do they impact an ecosystem? These researchers, they knew, of course, islands are going to be impacted. Also, they had a hypothesis looking at whether trophic level, or like, how high up in the level of who eats who you are, and how you are impacted by the introduction of a new herbivore. The problem is they've determined that there's either a real significant bias to studies and finding negative outcomes, or all the people crowing over the last several years, more than a decade, about the need to talk about the positive outcomes, that there just haven't been enough people publishing about those positive outcomes, that we haven't looked at that data. And so they don't know necessarily whether or not their data is imbalanced, but they suggest that might be what's going on. But their advice is like, hey, before you go putting a big, large mammalian herbivore in some place, you should really think about it, because the majority of the outcomes that they saw were that these herbivores had negative impacts, and even the positive impacts that were seen deteriorated over time. And so the deterioration of those positive impacts over time could potentially be attributed to other aspects of the introduction and the disruption of the ecosystem, so that it's not something that's actually helping the ecosystem.
And that's why we don't need cats.
Right. No, but Justin, in this particular situation, they talk about alien megafauna, or there are multiple situations where this group is looking at the introduction or reintroduction of large mammalian herbivores into ecosystems. And there are a lot of people talking about, as climate is changing, as different species are endangered, as ecosystems are endangered, how do we go about our conservation efforts? And people have tried to put rabbits, goats, cows, the other species, different places. And this particular study did not find an overwhelming positive impact to putting the big grass eaters in ecosystems. And so where I wanted to take this, I think they kept their focus very close to things that are still alive and maybe about to go to extinct, or maybe just recently went extinct. Not like the mammoths. And so this is where I wanted to bring it, in that the conservation impact of what they have seen. And they say, as far as we know, there's been no quantitative, systematically collected and taxonomically controlled study in support of any of these claims of benefit as to the introduction of species.
I find
so
a
they
lot
did it.
of
So they tried to do it, and they're like, here it is. And and the positive stuff doesn't even stay positive that long. So my question is, should we just keep the mammoth inside a fence? Yeah, we should.
Sure, but I think we should still bring it back. And to be fair, we found now mammoths are in Southern California. They've been found down into Mexico. So
Not
we have to.
alive. These are fossils.
Thank you for the
Dead.
clarification. Yes. The point, though, is just because the last stand of the mammoth was in cold climates also doesn't mean that they can't be much more diverse in terms of what type of habitat that they might be able to thrive in. And
But
therefore,
is related to the mammoths and the habitat they might thrive in, not what they might do to the habitat they are put in. And so the question is, which you have raised in previous episodes, is that because they are like seed eaters, herbivores, the grass poopers, then they
Mhm.
distribute seeds and do stuff, and there's no big ungulates like would be a mammoth in North America, in Canada, or whatever. You have suggested that maybe we need this in the ecosystems. But the question is, do we? Because this study suggests that the trophic rewilding, the idea of rewilding is not going to end up in a good way.
Yeah. I have the same skepticism towards this study as I have towards the ones that were claiming benefits, which is that, yeah, on paper, whatever. I don't think you have enough of a grip on because things like the reintroduction of the wolf had a ton of downstream effects that nobody was predicting when they were doing it. They were just trying to preserve a species. They were trying to preserve a species, but they did not predict what the beavers would do.
Oh, they had no idea what the beavers would do. That was a new thing.
Like, entirely. And it was such a seemingly unrelated, because it wasn't a prey species. It wasn't a direct interactive species. Like, it's so interesting to me that, like,
question, right? The off center effects.
Yeah, and they're bigger than I think people expect. But we also have to throw out there is like, well, while we don't have mammoths and bison, we have cows everywhere. So there is a major,
and that's a problem, actually.
Right. But we also are going to, at the same time, be missing the giant predator megafauna interactions when you bring these back. And so you'd be bringing back one piece of the puzzle while missing another one. You know, you don't have the short-faced bear or the saber-toothed cat being reintroduced at the same time. So you're also missing part of the rest of the ecosystem that they existed in.
Yeah.
That said, I think, even just for the sake of trying, I'm all for the mammoth return to a mammoth park somewhere,
a fenced area.
Yes. And I wouldn't be opposed to a rewilding experiment.
Yes.
But we will learn then what the real story of the mammoth alone without the predator impact would be.
And I think that's a really, really great point. So
then we can bring back the dire wolf and the saber-toothed cat and the short-faced bear and really the giant sloth. Can't leave the giant sloth out of the picture once you get this ball rolling.
But I think I think your point is like right on the nose, where it's anytime you start just reintroducing or rewilding, if you just introduce one animal, and especially if it's like it's a top herbivore, right? And just above them should be predators. And if there are no top predators in the ecosystem, how is that going to impact the entire trophic cascade? And if it's not the right herbivore for the system, it kind of fits, but it's not native or past native, or it just should fit. The question is like, if it can take advantage of resources, is it taking resources away from other species that are native? Is it going to disrupt in a really, really bad way? So there's
and the answer is going to be, the answer will always be yes, because it will be, because here it's going to change the ecosystem. So if they're looking at, will all of the things have the resources that they had before? The answer is no. But the exact same thing happens when you take an animal out of that ecosystem, when something goes extinct through overhunting or disease or whatever it is,
which we've done over and over again,
over again,
and not even just humans, but climate change through
the negative effect of something going extinct is going to be the same as the negative, like, let's say the same sort of resource redistribution, ecosystem habitat reconfiguration of the food chain and everything else will happen if you reintroduce. The question, though, that you have to ask then at the end of the day is, well, if we have more things there that are redistributing, finding their new niche, recalibrating with this new life form, we're missing one. There's always winners and losers. And I think, having a mammoth.
And I think that's the big question. In the long-term goal, right? What we have done is reduce diversity in ecosystems. And if the goal is to maintain diversity, you have to make sure that whatever change you make is going to increase or maintain diversity and not decrease it. And I think that would be ideal.
And that's where I slightly
but I'm just talking from the genetic perspective of trying to maintain as much diversity within an ecosystem as possible, because that leads to the healthiest ecosystems that are more resilient in times of stress, which our planet, where we are putting it into a time of stress. We could take out like the human, we did this, but we're like treating the whole planet like our zoo, right? It's our farm, it's our zoo. We have to, quote unquote, humans have to manage this now, right? So we can either eat everything and destroy everything and make everything the Black Forest with no diversity, or we can try and maintain diversity as long as possible in the hope that that helps everything.
Right. And you're going to make my point here, helping me make my point better than I had articulated it.
Great. Glad we're working together on this.
Which is that we need the ability to add diversity, because what we have now currently can only reduce it further.
And I think that's the thing that we need to consider. Are there certain places that have been negatively impacted, their diversity is negatively impacted because of human activity? Can we help that? Like, that's a great question.
Yeah.
And that's why I was getting at the whole question of like, are you going to introduce a change that will take away from that? Because that's not what we want to do. Because if you take away from the diversity and the genetic diversity, then what you end up doing is reducing the ability of certain biomes and ecosystems to support human life selfishly. I'm just talking from like the selfish human perspective, not just from life on Earth perspective, which we can do as well, because I totally go for that one. But yeah, if we're going to try and support life on the planet, let's maintain diversity as long as possible. If we killed all the things, put some stuff back.
Perfect.
Fine.
That's all we're talking about when we're talking about reintroducing the mammoth.
The rewilding question is so fascinating. It's fraught.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It is so fraught. Yeah. I love it.
Okay, moving on from this rewilding, and I'm glad you're back and not popping. Did I have anything else for this first part? Oh, no, I don't have anything right now. I think it's almost time to just go to you for a second, but I just want to say thank you, everybody, for being here right now. We are having a great time and moving through all the science and the conversation and the issues, and we're so glad you're here. And it's really about being able to talk about stuff with you. So if you have friends that you want to invite to the conversation, make sure you share TWIS with them, because that's how the word gets out. That's how we all talk a little bit more about these things that affect all of us and that are really important, actually, to look at from as much of an even perspective as possible, a curious perspective. Anyway, head over to twis.org. That's where our Patreon is. That's where the Zazzle store link is. That's where the show notes are. TWIS.org is the hub for This Week in Science. We love your support. We love that you're here with us. Help keep us going. Thank you for your support. Can't do it without you. All right, coming on back right now. I think Justin has taken mushrooms, or at least he's got mushrooms or something like that. This is this Week in Science.
Well, no, that's not quite the scenario.
No,
But I do have a magic mushroom story, which is fascinating. At least it's, one of those things that I didn't know existed. So
wait, you didn't know magic mushrooms existed?
Did you know that there's two with an identical molecule that derived the magic mushroom molecule?
Are
separately?
They all planted in Golden Gate Park? Anyway, no, I don't know.
So this study
I did not know
is where is this from? I don't see where this is from. This is a head of the research group Pharmaceutical Microbiology at the Friedrich Schiller University, Jena, and the Leibniz Institute for Natural Product Research and Infection Biology. What a big name for an institution. So psilocybin is a substance found in the magic mushroom, psychedelic mushrooms, that is been attributed with being able to profoundly alter consciousness and has some really interesting effects that have been shown in some preliminary studies for silencing the what is it? Is it the amygdala? Is that the really old part of the brain that does all the alert? Kiki? Did we lose Kirsten? I think we lost Kiki again. So this is really important because this is a part of the brain that is ancient animal part of your brain that's used to screaming out when it sees a lion. It registers a threat, registers danger. And it says, alert, alert, alert. And while we have evolved past needing to only react to this part of our brain, we have these executive higher functions that are now available to us to assess danger with a little bit more critical thinking. While that alert system has a direct line to our physiology at times in preparing for fight or flight, our executive function has a really hard time communicating backwards to this ancient amygdala part of the brain that's doing all this alerting, that's doing all this fear analysis. And so what ends up happening is we see a danger. And the classic example that I've seen of this is, there's a zebra goes to a watering hole and gets chased by a lion and then runs off. Alert, alert, takes off. And then like an hour later, that zebra is drinking water at a different watering hole and not freaking out that it just got chased by a lion. Its amygdala shuts off. It says, we're no longer in danger. When you have conditions like PTSD or certain types of stress, what's happening in a lot of those cases is the amygdala is alert, 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 telling you that there is danger. And even though you're no longer in that dangerous position, your executive function brain can't reach back and tell it to be quiet. You can't tell it, it's fine, I have everything under control. There's a lion, but I'm in an armored vehicle. I need not fear. Right? And have I got it right, Kiki? Because you're the brain expert. The amygdala is the old part of the brain that's doing like the alert, danger, danger. Okay, so I'm on the right track.
Emotion, you mostly like fear and
Yeah.
yeah.
So one of the things that psilocybin has been able to, or magic mushrooms ingestion has been found to do, is to silence that alert system, to allow perhaps even the executive function part of your brain to communicate back to it and be like, it's cool, we're good, no need to set off the alert. So it's been preliminarily in a bunch of studies, they found that it's done a pretty decent job at reducing symptoms of PTSD.
Yeah, we've talked
As
about
well
it
as
for a
stress.
while, and it seems like psilocybin could be one of the possible avenues to treatment.
Yeah. So
Mhm.
so in that, there's a great interest in psilocybin as a molecule that can have these great potential pharmaceutical effects that would greatly help some psychological disorders. Okay. So, but this study is what they were looking at is psilocybe, which is a species known to create the psilocybin. But they also found that something called a fiber cap mushroom employs it in a completely different biochemical arsenal and set of enzymes that also arrives at the same molecule. And this is not like a closely related. This is not a apparently it doesn't grow on feces. This is a very different mushroom that grows in a very different environment, and yet somehow for some reason has come up with the same molecule, and they don't know why. Is also kind of the interesting thing. They don't know why the psilocybin is in either mushroom. They don't know how it functions to benefit. Part of the theory is that it could be a deterrent. So an animal might it changes color. It has a color reaction where it will kind of turn the mushroom bluish, and
Huh.
that might be a clue as to for a potential predator not to eat it. Also, if the potential predator has a psychoactive effect, they might decide that they don't want the mushroom again. They don't really know. These are all guesses.
Did they talk about the gold flakes?
No, I don't think they mentioned
No.
that. But it
Blue
says
color, gold flakes. Okay, good.
The quote here from Hofmeister, who must be one of the researchers involved with this: "Nature does nothing without reason." I don't know if I
That's not
totally agree
true.
with that.
That's
but
not true.
but but nature does usually things for a reason that we don't appreciate right away, or for a reason that
Yes.
it doesn't need anymore, is just stuck with.
Yeah.
Like whales still have toes, but it's not that they're there for no reason. They used to have a very good reason, but they just don't need them now. But they say there must be an advantage to both fiber cap mushrooms in the forest and psilocybe species on manure or wood mulch producing this molecule. We just don't know what it is yet. But it does offer another source, another tool, and actually another enzymatic toolkit that reached this molecule. So it
I
also
think
opens
that's
up.
actually the most interesting aspect is
Yeah.
that it's not the same pathway, but it got to the same place.
It
And
got to the same molecule.
from a chemistry point of view, from a how do you synthesize kind of question, like this is where it's really interesting, right? Like
Now it
why
shows,
or how? Like, yeah, how do we get there in the lab? How can we do these things? And maybe how can we create a psilocybe without the hallucinogenic effects that can have the therapeutic effects? I don't know if that's possible, but can you? And like this is how you start getting at the different place.
yeah. Or it's the mushrooms world of just trying to tell the animals to chill out.
Chill out, animals.
Get over it. Quit freaking out. Quit yelling.
Yeah. Stop your yelling. Just then only the yelling if you've got somebody taking you with you, taking you with them, I guess. We are not Alice in Wonderland, but hopefully the science can take you places that are close to Wonderland. Every once in a while, I've got stories to finish up the show related to brains. Just to let you know about plastics in your brain. Everybody's talking about how much plastic is in everything these days. Well, some researchers at Trinity College Dublin just published their study in Journal of Hazardous Materials Plastics about how polystyrene nanoplastics impact mitochondria and their function. So we have been shown over and over and over again that mitochondria are essential for proper functioning of our neurons, and that as the mitochondria become disordered or dysfunctional, that leads to mental decline, neural decline, that our cognitive functions become less, that it leads to some aspects of aging, which, gosh, if we can fight that, that's great. But all of us are full of plastic right now, including all sorts of parts of you. Everywhere, exactly. And so this study, the idea came from an undergraduate, and they ended up looking at polystyrene nanoplastics and how they impact various aspects of the electron transport chain in the mitochondrial system, the complexes within cells. So the neurons, these complexes, there's numbers, there's mitochondrial complexes 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. And so the electron transport is basically, it's like photosynthesis. There's changes of hydrogen ions for electrons, and they move through these complexes, developing changes with ATP. And there's this whole process that's really, really amazing. And honestly, the fact that it drives the powering of our cells that allows us to do this, it's amazing. So anyway, they did use higher amounts of these polystyrene nanoplastics than are currently in human exposures. So this is one of those studies where it's like, oh, okay, this is like more. So they're overexposing. But in their overexposure, they did find that the nanoplastics impaired electron transfer between complex 1 and 3 and complex 2 and 3. And so it was also possibly inhibited at lower concentrations as well. And they looked at these effects in synaptic mitochondria. So synapses are important for the communication that happens between different brain cells and the expression of neurotransmitters and all sorts of really important brain functions. And so all of this mitochondrial impact could have implications for neurological disease and aging. Could. We're not saying this is a smoking gun, but this study does show that within their system, not in humans, not in mice, in cells, in dishes, when they applied these nanoplastics to the mitochondrial systems, that the neurons didn't do what they should as well as they should. So anyway, everybody, happy plasticking. Why don't you polytetrafluorine up in your gut?
Can I throw something out there? This is a
Sure.
story I didn't bring out of the UK. Found they looked at 155 hot and cold beverage samples and tested them for synthetic plastic particles.
Yeah.
And they found them in 100% of samples. And they also they found them in higher amounts than were expected. So this is also, they're suggesting that a lot of the estimations of how many microplastics people are being exposed to might be greatly underestimated currently.
Yay!
Woo!
Yay! There's more in you. Woo woo!
More than you think. Bum, bum, ba-da.
More than you think. And
I know I'm going to be in like big trouble because I am addicted to the convenience of the little
microwaving
plastic.
bags of whatever.
No, I don't microwave bags of anything. I got rid of microwaves because they were trying to read my brainwaves.
Oh my gosh. You did
No,
not just say
no.
that.
I just don't. I don't like microwave cheese, and I eat cheese on everything, and so it just like microwave never was my friend. It like doesn't melt cheese properly. So sorry,
Might be
I
for those
couldn't use it.
things.
But no, my like Insta coffee maker thing has little plastic pods for all of the coffee, and I'm going to willingly take microplastics with every cup of coffee, just out of the sheer convenience of having my coffee right away.
I
I'm
really think this is
I'm
the thing.
sacrificing
It's hot
brain health.
water. It's a plastic pod. I
It's
mean,
everything
everybody.
wrong. It's
It
everything
is
wrong,
everying.
and I
It's
won't
also
give it up. I
wrong with
won't
the
change it for anything.
disposal. Like, it's everything wrong.
There's nothing right about this
Nothing
process,
good.
and I refuse to give it up because I can have coffee in 2 minutes.
All right. So moving on from the nanoparticles and our brains and learning and memory, and hey, that's bad. Let's move to astrocytes. We have talked about the glial cells in the brain for a really long time as more than just packing material in the brain, and that they're involved in the immune system, and they're also involved in the brain's synaptic transmission, and that these astrocytes probably act on a very local scale, not in the long distance scale that neurons do, but like in a much, much more local functional way. And so a study that just came out, published by researchers from France and Switzerland in the journal Cell, these researchers have, for the first time, really causally been able to image, which is one of the things that I think is the really cool thing about this study. It's not just going, hey, we have molecular signals that suggest these things are important. They went in and they have 3D image. They use calcium imaging. They have gone in and been able to look at where astrocytes actually connect around synapses, and there is what they call leaflets now. And I wasn't aware of this previously. So astrocytes have leaflets, and the leaflets wrap around synapses and are communicating via calcium, via electrical stimulation with the synapse. The astrocytes are not only connected to this one synapse with a leaflet, they are connected to multiple synapses, multiple leaflets. And so the astrocytes are moderating the communication that's occurring in the local area of neuronal communication. And so where we've talked before about like upregulation, downregulation, like the neurons doing their thing, this study has actually created a visual representation of how these astrocytes and the endoplasmic reticulum that is like all up in the leaflets to release the calcium when it gets stimulated in the right way. They have done this 3D electron microscopy that is visually showing that when multiple synapses are being held by an astrocyte, that the astrocyte is like and like moderating the whole thing. It's a beautiful study, and I think it's really amazing to be able to go from the big gestalt of we have evidence that astrocytes are involved. We have evidence that the astrocytes are doing this calcium signaling. We have evidence that astrocytes are involved in immune system. We've got this is visual evidence, and it's just this really really, really, really well done study. And I just want to say it's pretty incredible. And I think one of the people, Lucas Benoit is the first author. I think, I'm not sure if they are an older laboratory person. But anyway, the researchers who who did this work have created something that is entirely special, looking at the in the mouse brain, not in a dish, but looking at cytoarchitecture, slicing it up in lots of pieces, and trying to figure out, really how the brain works. I think I'm gonna open up the actual study page, and this they have a bunch of supplemental videos that they've put together that are hard to make out, but the one I'm putting up here on the screen right now is a visual representation of shafts and leaflets, these different morphologies that are part of the peripheral astrocytes and their processes, and how the 3D nature of their existence within the brain, how it works. And so the stacks of these 2D images to be able to create using electron microscopy is pretty special. And there's a whole bunch. So they've got calcium, C43 immunogold labeling to be able to reveal leaflet domains connected by gap junctions. And so gap junctions are these structures between cells that allow the flow of ions and nutrients and other things. And so they're able to identify these gap junctions. The gap junctions basically mean that there's a connection there, that there is a flow of ions, probably calcium most usually. But they've made some incredibly beautiful, detailed videos of these regions of mouse brains being able to identify parts of the neurons from 2D images to 3D is where we're at right now. And it's allowing us to really, really understand the connections. And I'm not being conceptual here, like literal connections between different cell types, and how important astrocytes are to our brain.
And this is quite different than the model that we've been working with, right?
How do you mean? I mean, historically, the model is that neuron gets input, neuron sends input down the axon, it sends it to the synapse, neurotransmitters come out, neurotransmitters do the electrochemical thing to the next neuron in the dendrites, and then it stimulates. But then you have the dendrites of a neuron grab information and stimulation from or like turn off signals from lots of different places, right? And they average all of that to determine whether or not that neuron fires and goes and does something else. But now what we're saying is that these astrocytes are there, wrapped around and modulating.
Yeah.
Like they're a modulator, right?
Like I've not heard of them having this like function before.
Yeah. So like this
dimensional signal processing. Like it is exactly.
And so when we talk about, neural networks and this whole idea, like this kind of stuff has been like fudge factors and pluses and minuses in there, but nobody really has taken astrocytes into it, like these modulators into account for how the signal, like how signals get transmitted. And the astrocytes could be like, nah, like it could be the astrocytes just going, nah, we're not going to go there.
Yeah. So now what are the implications for like every neurological disease or an affliction? Like, have we checked up on everybody's astrocyte health? Is that a thing we need to go back and look at for everything?
Well, I mean, that is part of this, the way we're moving forward, because astrocytes, glial cells, like they manage the brain. They're there taking care of everything.
But
the immune system of the brain I've heard it. This is all. So So cancer of the brain, inflammation in the brain,
Yeah,
the glial
right.
cells.
Right.
When we're talking about this stuff, this like aging disorders, neurodegenerative diseases, that is astrocytes. Like
And
this
we're
is like the
talking usually about
mitochondrial.
their failure to protect.
Yep. Yeah.
We're
Immune,
not
right?
talking about I've
How
not
they
heard them talking about
process.
there's a failure of misfiring, failure of processing,
Yeah.
an interference by them, just a failure to protect, but not an actual active potential for an active interference. So like dust off every paper where you saw astrocyte anomaly as weakly associated in some way with something, and go and get a refined look at it now, and like let's delve into those research papers and see what all's there.
Yeah, because it's not as simple a system. And we've known this for a long time, but this really shows that this is, especially like in the hippocampus, you could say like the tripartite synapse, where it's like 1, 2, 3, you have 3 synapses, and that's the simple pathway, and blah blah blah. But no, astrocytes are involved in the whole thing, and so there are what they say here: a leaflet frequently provides a matrix embedding multiple synapses.
Multiple synapses. This is
While
also a thing I
some
don't-
leaflets showed no apparent contact with synapses, possibly being Philopodia-like structures not yet synaptically engaged. So maybe astrocytes are involved in our synaptic plasticity. Maybe they're part of that whole process. We've never considered that, really. Most leaflets embedded a number of synapses proportional to their volume. Large leaflets, likely leaflet domains, embedded numerous synapses. 90% of the synapses they looked at were part of a synaptic cluster that interacted with a common leaflet. From the astrocyte perspective,
that almost gives it a hierarchical
Yeah.
Perspective, right?
From the astrocyte perspective, 45% of the leaflets were associated with a single synapse. The remaining 55 surrounded multiple, most often 2 to 4, but quite frequently also 5 to 10. Sometimes large leaflet domains housed 10 to 50 synapses, and in an exceptional case, 101 synapses. Anyway, we honestly have so much to learn. This is amazing.
Yeah.
Astrocytes.
That's a good story.
I
A good
just love
study.
it. Oh my gosh. Okay, and the last story. Are you ready for nightmare fuel? Like honestly, this is
right. It is right before bed, so I don't know why I would waste that nightmare fuel on a first thing tomorrow morning.
No, right now, let's go there. Oh my gosh. Okay, I really, really wish that Blair were here because spiders. Let's talk about spiders. Is everybody loving all the orb weaver spiders that are outside their door right now? Like it's Halloween spider season. The spiders are out. They're making their
But it's all
nest.
lady orb
Like-
weavers. I don't know where the male orb weavers are. It's all lady orb weavers everywhere.
But you see them solitary, or do you see them social? Do you see hundreds together?
I've only seen one at a time. I haven't seen the social ones.
Yeah, so social spiders are like 0.1% of all spiders. They are really in the minority. But there are spiders, and probably mostly in Australia, that in the huntsman and other species where there are social and solitary representatives among the species within a genus. So this study that was published in Integrative Zoology looked at spider brains. The researchers looked at the brains of huntsmen and crab spiders because They found solitary and social examples of each. They brought them back to the lab. It's super exciting. So basically the bottom line is that if you're gonna get bitten by a spider in Australia, make sure it's a social huntsman, because the social huntsman spiders have less like poisonous venom because they all share their prey. The crab
But doesn't that
social
also mean
spiders did
that
not have a decrease in their venom. So there's different ecological
I
aspects to
guess
them.
that could make. I guess I could see why. My fear is that the social ones are gonna also be like they'll have like some sort of social hunting technique. So if you get bit by one, chances are there's another one sneaking up right behind you. It was just
No,
a distraction for 5 others to leap on you
so
and start.
they're not socially hunting and coming to get you like that.
Okay.
But yeah, the huntsman spiders in this study, apparently they can have colonies of up to 300 spiders, which huntsmen are like, they could be big spiders. And wow. So a lot of these predatory big spiders coming together in a colony, like how did that happen? So this is a really interesting study because they're looking at it also from evolutionary perspective, and they
Yeah.
acknowledge they can't answer most of the questions that they have. And they're like, this would be a great question to study. This would also be a great question to study. But as they addressed their question, which was, let's look at these different ecological strategies, right? Social versus solitary. And let's look at the brain, because we know that in social insects, in social mammals, all sorts of animals, there are specialized areas of the brain that have become larger, not just because of body size, but because of use. And so in social insects, we have the mushroom bodies that are larger. There are, lots of things. And so I just want to point out that in the spider brain, it's not like our brain where it's a brain in a brain case and it's this separate thing. The brain of a spider is this mush of cells that is in the middle of everything. It's next to the esophagus, next to the venom gland. It's like the visual nerves come in. It is this tiny, tiny organ in, what is it? The thorax of the spiders. And so the spiders, they brought them into the lab. They got them out of the wild. They looked at their brains. They did CT imaging and were able to look at the size. They weren't looking at number of neurons, but they were looking at overall volume. And what they were able to say is like, oh, look, these spiders that are social, these ones that make leaf colonies, they have a growth in their visual areas. So the areas that are larger seem to be visual, but the different species that they looked at, they're like, I'm not really sure if that's because they like made themselves a little shaded colony out of leaves and they hide in the dark, and so their eyes are bigger, and so they need a bigger visual field in their brain to check it out, or if it's a result of social cues. So they don't know that. But they were able to say that in these insects, they're not insects, they're spiders, these arthropods, they were able to show that the mushroom bodies, which are important for bees and other organisms, the arcuate nucleus, these parts of the brain that are important for learning in other insects, they also were important for the spiders. But they're not really sure about how exactly, there's no causal link. And this paper was so great because they really were like, I can't link it causally, but we've got some stuff here. And they're like,
That's fine.
They're really great.
This is all interesting, but I want to go back to the first graphic you showed.
The first one with the spiders? No.
Yeah.
The brain.
This.
Yes, the
What's
brain.
behind? What is right behind the esophagus there?
The sucking stomach.
What? I'm learning a thing here. What is a sucking stomach? Is that how they like inhale? You get inhaled into a stomach? Is that what's happening?
Kind of. Yeah, it's
You get slurped in with the sucking stomach, or is it
Yeah,
sucking the
so-
juices out of you when you're in there? Like, what is?
it's part of
Is
the
it like an
anatomy.
olive press? What's happening in the sucking stomach?
So I think it is like a what do you call it when a sucker thing, like when you want to suck juice out of whatever, like it creates because of the muscles changing the cross section and the volume of the stomach as it opens,
Bringing
the
the
volume
juices out
changes
of the thing.
and it sucks the juices from the prey that have been digested because of whatever was digestive enzymes that were put into the prey through the chelicerae, that those are sucked in like a straw.
Oh my gosh.
So it's the stomach is not, there's not muscles like we have our swallowing muscles.
Mm-hmm.
There's a whole process that we're not. It's not that our stomach gets bigger and sucks stuff into it.
No.
But with spiders, their muscles open it and it creates a pressure differential.
Yeah, like Brian Burwell, yes, a turkey baster effect, I believe.
Thank you, Brian. Yes.
Or Kevin Reardon capillary action. Yeah,
That's what I was going for.
all right answers. Pump as well. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So in these spiders, but the brain is like maybe as big as the sucking stomach. It's not that
It's a
big.
little smaller even. Yeah.
It's smaller, right? So the question is like, what is in the brain that is gonna be doing things? And this is the
I'm
big
telling-
question. Like,
It
what
also
is it
shows that we have so much brain that we just probably aren't using. Right? Like, because if the spider can make webs and do cool stuff and do all the, be social even and do all the things with that tiny,
Right?
tiny, teeny, tiny brain, I feel like we should know more things. I feel like I should at least remember the names of plants. Which
So
I
here's the
just
question,
can't.
right? And this is where this study ends up going, which is very interesting. They looked at the solitary species, they looked at the social species. They found that in both of the social species, there were increases in these mushroom bodies and also the visual areas. And it was only in the huntsman that you had the decrease in the venom glands. But the question is, what they ask is what led to each of these different species getting into the social way of being, because spiders really like to be solitary most of the time. So there are multiple hypotheses, which is that with spiders carrying their young, not eating their young as quickly, getting more okay with other spiders being close, that suddenly that led to this social thing, but that doesn't happen all the time. And so in these instances, the crab spiders and the huntsman spiders, they came at it differently. And so you have potentially different personalizations, different adaptations within the brain and within the physiology
Gotta fit
for
the
their
strategy.
survival.
Or
Yes.
forms the strategy. Hard to tell.
Right. Yeah. And so like the crab spiders are more like they like leaves and they create these, they like surround themselves in leaves and they love all that. But they hunt differently than the huntsman. It's like it's different. They're different species, different organisms. And so the cephalothorax is the thing. Like this area, you've got neurons coming into this little tiny area. And this little tiny area has like 3 little teeny tiny areas in it. And they determined that there's one, the protocerebrum, that is the part that changes. That's like the big thing for the spiders. And so the question now is like, what really is going on here? This is something that's not related to body mass. This is a change in the way that resources and mass have been allocated that is specific to the way that these species have decided to live socially versus solitarily. And so the question is, what's going on in this arcuate body, the mushroom body, when there are other areas that really aren't that different? But at the same time, we're still looking at error, the standard of error, that they all overlap. So it's really, it's a very interesting story. And I think because we're looking at these social spiders that are only 0.1% of all spiders we've ever discovered, spiders that like to live together, share food, share parenting, not eat each other, 0.1%. Perhaps this is not the old way of spiders, but perhaps it is something that is currently undergoing evolution. And so maybe we are finding it at a step in its transitions. I don't know.
The early stages of the Starship Troopers
Yeah.
bug planet.
Yeah. Anyway, I hope everybody just thinks about the spiders all the time, like the spider brains. Think about the spiders. Think about the spiders who are living together in their colonies, who can live like 300 spiders together.
Jack and the Frost
All
is saying it's
together.
just statistically insignificant. Well, there's always going to be a little overlap. And that overlap might be you're like the one social spider in the antisocial colony. You're like, hey, you guys fellas want to hang out? They're like, no, go away. Oh, come on. I just got a big screen TV. I'm cooking up a bunch of bees on the barbecue over here. No, we don't want to hang out. Free Slurpees? I don't know what the... And then on the other hand, in the social spider group, there's going to be some that just like can't be bothered. Just never show up. They pretend like they're going to go, oh, there's an event. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll probably be able to get over there at some point. Yeah. And they never show. They never show.
So this
up.
is the question. Like, there is this suggestion with mushroom bodies in bees that it has to do with social dominance, and that the larger the mushroom body is, the more dominant the individual is within the hive. We know bees have like a crazy social system, and that their brain allows them to do that, and that individuals genetically are like set up to have different brain arrangements, right? That we haven't fully elucidated yet, but we do know that they've got mushroom bodies that are bigger than non-social colonial insects, that there's stuff going on there, and that it's related to hierarchy. And so what else is happening within these spiders? I love this paper, really written very well. They set up all their unknowns. They're like, yeah, don't know it. Like I really, from a transparent perspective of what we know and what we don't know and what we set out to do and what we can do and what we'd like to do, they put it all in there. It's really well done. So, yeah.
And it's good to do that. It always boosts confidence. I've always find an overconfident or overstatement filled paper to just seem less reliable.
It's not.
It makes me doubt their hard data, which is weird. It like
they're
makes me
confident
question
with their
like,
data. They're like, but we couldn't do this. Somebody should. This is a great direction to study. It was very well done. But anyway, I hope you all go to sleep and dream of social spider brains. What would it be like to be a social spider? To nestle in with your spider brethren for a good night of sleep. Justin, hey,
Uh,
are we
all I'm saying
done?
is if you're a spider dude or weaver spider dude, and
Ooh,
the lady invites you over for drinks,
don't do it.
just so you know, she means you.
Because they have a sucking
I
stomach.
think we've done it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
I think we did
All
it.
right, we got through all of our studies, all of our stories tonight. Thank you for joining us. So wonderful to be able to hang out with you on another Wednesday evening. Thank you for enjoying the science, the evidence brought, the curiosity as well, and thank you for bringing your own curiosity and wit to the chat room. Love it, Jack Frost. Come on, that was amazing. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate you being here, and thank you for sharing this week in science, and thank you for appreciating the show we brought tonight. I hope you did. I mean, on you're telling me you appreciated it, so I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, live long and prosper. I just want to thank everyone in the chat room, though. No matter what amount you're able to give, you're here. You're giving your comments and yourself and your time. So thank you for being here. In the future, those of you who are watching time shifted, thank you for being here also. And additionally, I have to thank Justin for co-hosting and doing this. Yeah, I love that you're here with me. Thank you.
I didn't have a choice. You
I
told
know
me
you
that
did.
you would
You could be
kick me
like,
in the
no,
shins if I didn't show up.
I can't reach you from up here. Not anymore. Jeez. I mean, it's easier than when you were in Denmark, but come on.
This is why I do the show. Kiki has blackmail on me, and she makes threats on it. I just want to put that out there in case anything happens to me. This is.
I don't. I only have good things. Only recommendations and props. Fada, thank you so much for your help with social media and show notes. Really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Gord, Arnlore, others who help keep the chat rooms really good places to be. Thank you for being there and helping with that. Identity 4, thank you for recording the show. Rachel.
No one would hear us without him.
I know.
There'd be no recorded version of the show. It was like we wouldn't even exist.
I know. Thank you for doing that. And Rachel, thank you for
Makes
editing.
the podcast sound intelligent.
Makes it sound tight.
By clipping together all of the good parts.
And now I'm going to say thank you to our TWIS patrons. Thank you to all of you who support the show in an ongoing fashion. Thank you, Aaron Anathema, Adam Mishkan, Alan Viola, Ali Coffin, Andrew Swanson, Arthur Kepler, Artyom Brigg, Bob Calder, Bob Coles, Brendan Minish, Barton, Greg Carrington, Chris Wozniak, Christopher Dreyer, Christopher Rappin, Craig Landon, Craig Potts, Dana Lewis, Daryl Myshak, Dave Wilkinson, David E. Youngblood, Don Mundus, Jonathan Styles, a.k.a. Don Stylo, E.O., Eden Mundell, Eric Knapp, Flying Out, Fredis 104, G. Burton Lattimore, George Chorus, Briggs, Howard Dan, Jack, Jason Holtz, John Atwood, John McKee, John Ratwasamy, Johnny Gridley, Ken Hayes, Kent Northcote, Kevin Parachan, Kevin Reardon, hello, Kurt Larson, Lon Makes, Lauren Gifford, Mary Gertz, Spardry, Hart, Mark Hessenflow, Noodles, Patrick Pecoraro, I hope you're doing great at NASA. Paulie Disney, Paul Ronovich, Philip Shane, Pierre Velazar, P.I.G., Richard Badge, Robert Norland, Ribbit, Robert W. Farley, Rodney Lewis, Rudy Garcia, Remy Day, Sean Clarence, Lamb, Shoe, Bruce, Stephen Alberon, Steve Leisman, a.k.a. Zima, Sue Doster, Teresa Smith, Tony Steele, Vegard Chefstad.
Thank you all so much.
Frumpy B and Frumpy B, thank you for the super sticker. Oh my gosh, that's amazing. But thank you to our Patreon sponsors who support us in an ongoing fashion. If you would like to support us on Patreon, head to twist.org and click on that Patreon link. Whoosh. Yeah, Jack Frost, share on socials. Tell other people about TWIS. On next week's show.
Oh, on next week's show, we will hopefully be back broadcasting live from our YouTube and our Facebook channels and all the other lovely places that you're picking up this feed. If you want to listen to us as a podcast, just Google This Week in Science wherever podcasts are found, which is where you already found us, so you probably already know. If you've enjoyed the show, get your friends to subscribe and listen to. For more information on anything you heard here today, show notes, links to stories will be available on our website, www.twis.org, where you can do deeper dives into the stories that you've heard here. You can also sign up for Blair's newsletter, which I think is going to be weekly soon. I don't know. It hasn't been announced yet.
Nope. I was just looking at my documents and I saw the last newsletter was sent like a year, maybe 2 years ago. So
a while ago.
I might send a new one soon. I don't know. Sign up.
I don't know why we announce. I really don't know why we
Surprise!
announce it every week when Blair
Because
has not put out.
would be
a newsletter.
wonderful if we did this. Oh
And if you want to write a newsletter, send it to us, and then we'll be able to read it. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, please let us know on one of the social media accounts. Send us an email, put TWIS in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into oblivion. We look forward to discussing science with you again next week. And if you've learned anything from the show, remember,
It's all in your head.
This week in science. This week in science. This week in science. This week in science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 I've got one disclaimer and it shouldn't be news. That what I say may not represent your...
Justin
Right here.
may not represent your views. Thanks everyone for an
What
amazing
Kiki said.
show. Yeah, what
If Kiki doesn't represent your views, there's something wrong with you. If I don't represent your views, well,
Aw.
that's fine. That's understandable. Nobody.
do you think I'm representative of people? I often think that I'm an outlier because
You're a rebel. I'll put it like that. You're a complete outlier.
you're a
There's
liar.
nobody that thinks
Yeah.
like you.
Shut up. Oh my god.
You're so outside of the mainstream.
Stop it. Stop. Stop. Your
Like-
pandering is painful.
It's like you're an alternative to alternative. You know what I mean? Like,
You're so Gen X, they named it after your Xness. What? No.
like
Stop.
everyone starts optimistic and then becomes a little bit disillusioned and then starts being jaded. And after being jaded for a while, they're just apathetic to the point where they become kind of optimistic again. And I feel like you're.
I
at the
feel like
end of
that
each of
happens
those
around
cycles.
70 now. Like maybe like, if I can make it to 70, maybe the optimism will come back.
Well, this was like supposed to be the lifespan, the lifetime span kind of thing. But I feel like I go through this every week now.
It's true, right? Oh gosh.
Oh,
I
there's
used
hope.
to be
Oh, there's no hope at all. Oh, I
I
didn't
used
care about
be,
hope in the
though.
first place. Oh, but there's
But
hope.
But wasn't I always like Little Miss Optimist, right? And now I'm like, I'm happy. And there's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not as optimistic as I used to be. I'm now,
Oh, I'm
my
sorry.
anarchist side is coming out. I
So
mean, did I say anarchist? I don't mean anarchist. That's like something that like no.
I think I might have had that influence. I have been called before a professional wet floor. So
I don't know about that one.
so I have a tendency to like, okay, be in the company meeting. Here's the plan that we've got. We want to roll out, and then I'm like,
And
what
what
about?
about? What
Have we
about?
looked at? Did
Mhm.
anybody consider? And it's called being a wet floor because it's like the little wet floor sign. I like stick those everywhere that I think they need to be.
I think it's great.
And it's a good thing to have. Every place needs one to have the wet floor guy.
I mean,
But
if you have a bunch
but
of
I'm
yes
not like I don't.
people who are just
I
like, yes, it's great, then that's not good for anybody. And
right,
very often there's groupthink. And so we need
yeah.
to have
And the funny
different
thing is,
perspectives.
I am always super optimistic that the future will find a way, reason will prevail, critical thinking will master every problem eventually.
Eventually.
However, along the way, I have zero confidence in the humans.
Yeah.
In the iterative step, I see wet floors. In the long vision, I see nothing but a bright and glorious future for the planet. I mean,
Like for the
eventually it will
planet,
be consumed by the sun in a
by the
bright,
plant for
glorious.
the planet, I bright and glorious, right? Bright in the sunlight of that devouring by the sun.
Of
It'll
that
be
devouring
glorious.
sight. 4
Yeah.
billion years from now. I mean, it's going to be a
No,
while, but well
no,
worth the wait.
it's like 8 or something,
8 years?
right?
No, it's more
No,
than 8 years. I think
billion,
it's closer to 4
billion,
billion than 8.
10 billion. No, it's like it was because when Kai was a
I
kid,
thought
it was
we were at
like
like the
he
halfway
was
point. Is it
really,
really?
really worried about it being
So
now.
was Sebastian.
And I had to
Sebastian heard about it
convince
and had
him it was
no concept of what the billions of years were.
no,
Like
and I'm like, this is not
nothing to
in
worry
your
about here.
way, way beyond you and the rest of humanity. Teaching kids about time when we can't even comprehend geological time ourselves and the immenseness of it is a real challenge.
And then you start talking about cosmic time scales, and then you're like, maybe my brain and that spider brain aren't really that different. Because I don't think they get it either.
So what I was thinking about today with the spider brain stuff and the social insect aspects of things is like with so the idea of how much information a brain can process, people are saying is limited by the number of neurons. And so if you have a small brain in an insect or an arthropod, right, you are limited in the number of neurons.
Sure.
Is anybody talking about the microRNA, the proteins, the enzymes, the things that are
What
allowing
if they've
and
got like
astrocytes?
50 times more astrocytes?
No, but
Like simultaneously communicating.
seriously, I mean, it's a really small volume, but
Parallel
what is
processing.
it? There's something that is there's something that allows the signal response, and maybe it's not consciousness, and maybe it doesn't go to that. But there are instructions within the brain that allow input in, and I don't eat you, right? I see you, I don't eat you. I see another spider, I eat the other spider, right?
I feel like that's how spiders would talk. Like what you're doing right there. I like you.
But
I
it's
know eat you.
right,
I see that spider, I eat that spider. I see you,
that's
I like you. I know eat you. I feel like that's how they would talk to each other. Like maybe
right.
that's just it. But with great
But
confidence.
can't
Like
with
we
great confidence, right?
because here's
no,
the thing. Actionable.
it's just
Actionable
yes or no.
consequences. Yeah. And then
They
action.
don't have to worry
Whereas
about
humans are like,
nuance.
I've got a lot of information to weigh the pros and the cons of this future relationship. Might be going on a few more dates before I really realize whether or not.
Do you think the other spider liked my molt? Like, I mean, I molted and I thought it was fine and normal.
They
But do you
hung
think the
out.
other,
They were around.
like,
Like they did the
they
little
were
side to
around?
side dance. I saw that. Like the spider body language.
Maybe,
Right?
maybe it's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I thought I molted fine.
No, I thought you did good. But the problem was that spider that was you were talking about got eaten by another spider yesterday. So got to move on. But I feel like
Solitary
there's just
spider.
a lot more actionable. There's less of an actionable threshold in maybe the spider world for eat it, don't eat it, date it, don't date it. I think it's just it looks because they do react with great confidence in each of these scenarios. Anyway, we are in the after show. But I have to go because I am going to be at work in just a very few hours.
And we talked about you going to sleep, and I know, but I was having fun talking to you. Oops.
Yeah, I like talking to you too. I wish I had more time tomorrow to be awake now.
I know. I get it. Thank you.
Thank you, minions, for showing up and being part of the show. Always more fun.
Say
to
goodnight,
have
Justin.
the crowd. Good night, Justin. Say goodnight, Kiki.
Good night, Kiki. Good night, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another. I can't speak. That's what I'm working on these days. Is not speaking well.
One day I speak pretty.
I speak pretty. No, I don't. Okay, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you next week. Yeah? Be well. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Stay critical. Stay curious. And of course, stay lucky.
Stay lucky at all times.
Stay lucky. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.